So update 0.3 went live for XDefiant yesterday, and it actually changes the way the movement works in this game quite dramatically, as well as finally fine-tuning the sniper flinch and plenty of other small changes too. And so today I wanted to run you guys through all of the changes, not only in the patch notes, but also showing you in-game how it actually works, as these movement changes are genuinely insane. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you guys know that the biggest complaint from this game since launch has been the bunny hopping, and also a little bit to do with the crouch spamming. That wasn't as big of a complaint, but it was definitely still an issue. But realistically, the biggest complaint has been jump spamming, or otherwise known as bunny hopping. It can definitely be pretty annoying for players, obviously seeing people jump around like an idiot all day long. It is kind of annoying. Even though I don't personally have the biggest issue with it, it is definitely still annoying. So as you would expect, that has been the biggest complaint. But like I said, this patch has essentially fixed that. Now I'm going to read this from Axe's tweet, simply because it was way more in depth than the actual patch notes. So bear with me for a while. This is actually one of the longest tweets I have ever seen in my entire life, but it is definitely worth reading. He says, so first let's clarify a few things regarding our movement. We have always had jump fatigue, which applies to both jump height and player speed. This dates back to some of our earliest insider sessions. For jump height, it is reduced by 30% for each consecutive jump within a period of time. For player speed, it is reduced by 20% for each consecutive landing within a period of time, and you quickly resume full speed. 2, like regular movement speed, the weapon you are using also affects your base ADS jump height, so this value is 1-to-1 with the movement speed modifiers we use for each weapon class. So pistols are faster than SMGs, are faster than ARs, with some exceptions like the MDR uses the SMG movement speed modifiers. 3, another thing we do is slow ADS time by 10% if you attempt to ADS anytime during a jump. And so he's just kind of run through all the things that were already in the game. And as you can see, he says here, those are all things we've always had. Now let's talk about what we added. If you played during the closed beta a year ago, you might remember our ADS sway penalty for jump and crouch spam behavior. Let's dive into how it works. Our philosophy is pretty simple. We want all players to be able to utilize all of our movement mechanics, but keeping in mind it's possible to have too much of a good thing. Jump, crouch, spam, penalty. What's the penalty? Once you reach the minimum number of inputs, we add sway in ADS and spread in hipfire to your weapon that will get continually worse until it reaches its maximum amount. What triggers this will give you 3 inputs within 1 second intervals, penalty free. Each time you initiate a jump, that timer refreshes, and if you hit a 4th jump while that timer is running, we will trigger the penalty. Worth noting, jump and crouch are fully separate inputs and have independent counters from each other, and sliding does not count as a crouch for this. How long does this last? Both the sway and spread penalty will last 1.25 seconds. Hope this gives everyone a little bit more insight into how this behavior works and where our intent is. We don't want to remove core mechanics or hinder player movement. We just want to minimize the excessiveness of spamming them. It's also worth mentioning that while this is our first iteration, we will continue to monitor, listen, and evaluate future movement updates as we're live. So as you can see how it currently works now, if I just spam the jump button, after a few jumps, you're going to start to see, as you can see, it's like moving around. This is not me. That is not me on the stick moving my aim around, which it definitely looks like that's me doing that. And when I had first seen, clips of this on Twitter, I just thought people were doing this and trying to show, how less accurate it was or something. But no, this is literally all just done from me jumping. I'm literally just aiming and jumping. That's the only 2 buttons I'm pressing. And this is how drastically it moves around your aim. So it seems like bunny hopping is essentially done. Now, as you can see, once I stop, it'll still do it just for a little bit, and then it will recenter. So there's also a slight delay on when it actually snaps back on target as well. The only issue that I have with this is that the first few jumps are unaffected. As you can see, that's 3 jumps. This only kicks in after the 4th jump. And also, if I don't do it straight away, as you can see now, I'm adding another 3 jumps and it's not doing it. It's still roughly on target. You can see there's a little bit of sway, but then as I do that 4th jump, it's full on swaying. And so my only concern is that people are just going to do like a triple bunny hop and it's still going to be, somewhat effective. But there are also the changes to just the jumping in general. It kind of feels like after that first jump, I'm like in the mud, as you can see. And now I can't barely move. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays in game. I've played a few games with it and it does feel a lot better, but I need, we all need weeks of playtime to see how this actually feels, how it affects people bunny hopping and stuff like that. I do think they'll eventually maybe change it to 3 jumps instead of 4, because 4 feels like a lot. Like I can do those 3 jumps and it doesn't really affect me. But yeah, it's definitely better than how it was. The same thing also goes for crouching. So if I just crouch spam, as you can see, again, that is not me on the right stick. That is completely done in game. So crouch spamming is now no longer a thing, or snaking as it is usually called, which is definitely very nice as well. So that's it for the movement changes. And like Ake said at the end of his tweet, I think they will likely change this. I think that having it after the 4th jump is still giving players a little bit of extra time than they probably need to do those bunny hops. So unless it just completely eradicates it, then I'm sure people will still complain and they'll probably go down to the 3rd jump rather than the 4th. But yeah, we are just going to have to wait and see. Now, the good thing is that this does still allow you to jump and shoot. It's not just completely removing that. I was actually a little bit worried that if they were going to remove bunny hopping, they would then just make, in general, jumping and trying to shoot people completely irrelevant, and I don't think that's the way to do it. I think the way that they have done it here is actually really good, but this means that you can still, for example, jump around a corner and still shoot the enemy, and it's still going to be an effective playstyle. So overall, I'm pretty damn happy with these changes. Now, I need to put more time into actually playing the game. Like I said, it'll take us weeks of playing to know if this is actually effective or not, but at least at face value, it definitely seems pretty solid to me. Now, lastly, we've just got a few small little elements in the patch notes that I wanted to run through as well. One of those is to do with the snipers, which I know have been probably the next biggest complaint outside of the bunny hopping, and they have actually changed the way that the snipers work, mostly to do with the flinch. So it says here in the patch notes, they have revamped how snipers flinch when they're tagged by enemy fire, increasing the flinch and keeping it going through multiple hits. So that is a very small change, but it's going to be interesting to see how that actually goes. I do think potentially they're going to need some extra changes. I don't want them to change anything to do with the actual like damage of them. I think you should be able to one-hit kill, but I think maybe just a slightly slower ADS speed, or just like other penalties like sprint to fire time and stuff like that, just to make it a little bit harder to run around like full-on quick scope one-hit killing people. I think it can get a little bit excessive, and this is coming from someone who I actually love sniping and also run around trying to quick scope people. So that's not coming from me being a salty player that is sick of snipers. I love it too, but I think they are just a little bit overpowered at the moment. So yeah, we'll see if they change anything else, but I think this is a good starting point to change the flinch, because that was definitely the worst. If you were shooting at a sniper, it felt like it didn't even matter, to be honest. Lastly, there is also one little change here to do with the net code as well. They've said Libertad's medical skills were so potent that they were soaking up bandwidth. That's been fixed, and then in brackets, the bandwidth issue, not the healing potency, which remains untouched. So I don't know the extent of that. I don't know if that meant that if there was any Libertad characters in any given game, that would like soak up bandwidth and make it a bit more laggy, or if it was only to do with, for example, if you were playing as Libertad, that would make you a little bit laggier. I'm not too sure, but overall, that is definitely very, very good to see that change, because anything that can overall reduce ping is definitely a good change at the end of the day. But that is pretty much it for the patch notes and obviously what has changed with the movement. Overall, massive changes that I'm very, very happy to see. It's great to see that they are really listening to, you know, what we actually want. They've constantly said they don't want to change the movement, but with enough complaints, they have now gone and done exactly that. And it's in a really good way too, where it still allows for people to be skillful and use the jump to their advantage, but spamming it is where they kind of draw the line. So overall, some really good changes, and I'm very happy to see them. Be sure to leave your thoughts on all the changes down in the comment section. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you all out there in the arena.